Chosen one, you didn't find this message by accident. Something inside you paused before your finger could scroll, because your spirit recognized what your mind hadn't yet explained. This is not just another video, not just another voice speaking into the noise. This is a moment of alignment. Heaven is drawing your attention because time matters now. There is a call being released, and it has your name on it. You may not feel ready. You may not feel worthy. But God has never waited for readiness. He responds to availability. The stirring you felt lately, the quiet unrest, the sense that your life is meant for more than surviving one day at a time, that is not imagination. That is the signal. God is calling you because someone needs what only you can carry. There have been moments when you felt set apart without understanding why. You didn't quite fit in, even when you tried. Your heart was always deeper, your questions heavier, your compassion stronger. You noticed pain others ignored. You felt burdened by injustice, by loneliness, by suffering you couldn't fix. That wasn't weakness, that was preparation. God often marks the chosen with sensitivity because you cannot heal what you cannot feel. You were shaped to notice what others overlook, to hear what others silence, to stand in the gap when others walk away. Even when you tried to blend in, something in you refused to become numb. You've walked through seasons that almost broke you, seasons where prayers felt unanswered and doors closed without explanation. You asked God why it had to be so hard, why the weight felt heavier on you than on others. But hear this now, the pressure wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to shape you. Oil only flows when there is pressure. Diamonds are only formed when heat and time collide. What you survived wasn't random, it was refinement. God was building depth in you because shallow roots cannot sustain great calling. The strength you carry today was born in moments no one applauded and no one saw. There were times you felt overlooked, forgotten, even abandoned. People you trusted walked away. Opportunities passed you by. You watched others rise while you waited in silence. But silence does not mean absence. Some of God's greatest work happens where there is no audience. While you were hidden, heaven was active. While you questioned your worth, God was securing your foundation. Delay was not denial. It was divine timing protecting you from stepping into something before you were ready to carry it. If you had risen earlier, it would have destroyed you. God held you back because He valued your future more than your impatience. The enemy noticed the calling on your life long before you did. That's why the attacks came early. That's why doubt whispered louder in your mind. That's why fear tried to convince you to stay small, to stay quiet, to stay safe. The battles you faced were not evidence of weakness, they were proof of significance. No one fights an empty vessel. Resistance is always a sign that something valuable is being guarded. You were targeted because what's inside you threatens darkness. And even when you stumbled, even when you fell short, grace never released you. You were corrected, not rejected, protected, not discarded. Right now, somewhere, someone is crying out to God for help. They don't know your name, but heaven does. They are asking for guidance, for hope, for someone who understands their pain. And God is looking at you, not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. Your story, your survival, your scars, they are not liabilities. They are credentials. You carry a testimony that can reach places polished words never will. There are people who will only listen to someone who has walked through fire and lived to tell the truth. You may feel unqualified. You may feel too broken, but God has always used ordinary people to do extraordinary work. Moses stuttered. David was overlooked. Esther was hidden. Yet when the moment came, heaven moved through them. What mattered wasn't their perfection, it was their obedience. The call on your life does not require you to know everything. It requires you to trust the one who does. God doesn't reveal the whole path at once. He reveals the next step. Light is given for movement, not for comfort. This is why the call feels urgent now, not rushed but timely. The season of preparation is shifting into the season of activation. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to step forward intentionally, to stop silencing the voice, To stop telling yourself one day when heaven is saying, no. The world doesn't need another spectator. It needs someone willing to answer when God calls. You were never meant to live a small, quiet life bound by fear and hesitation. You were created for impact, for purpose, for connection beyond yourself. And the call you're hearing right now is not heavy, it's holy. It's an invitation into alignment with what you were always meant to do. Someone needs you. Not the future version of you. Not the perfect version of you. You, right now as you are, surrendered and willing. And when you say yes, everything will begin to make sense. The moment you begin to move toward what God has been placing on your heart, everything starts to feel heavier. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because resistance always increases when purpose is near. That inner tension you've been feeling lately is not confusion, it's alignment trying to pull you forward while fear tries to hold you back. You're standing at a threshold, and thresholds are uncomfortable because they require decision. Staying where you are feels familiar, but stepping forward feels risky. Yet faith has never been built in comfort. God is inviting you to trust Him beyond what you can control. You may have noticed how distractions suddenly multiplied. Fatigue crept in without warning. Doubt began replaying old failures, reminding you of every mistake you've ever made. That is not coincidence. The enemy doesn't create new attacks, he reuses old ones. He tries to convince you that because you once fell, you are disqualified from rising. But what he calls disqualification, God calls training. Every setback taught you discernment. Every disappointment sharpened your dependence on God. Nothing was wasted. The very places where you felt the weakest are the places where God's strength will be seen the clearest. There is a weight to calling that many people don't talk about. Purpose is not just privilege, it is responsibility. When God chooses someone, He also entrusts them with influence, whether they want it or not. Your life speaks even when your mouth is closed. People watch how you endure, how you forgive, how you keep going when it would be easier to quit. You don't realize how many are drawing strength from your quiet perseverance. Someone has already been encouraged by your survival, even if they never told you. This is why your obedience matters more than you know. You've been tempted to isolate, to pull back, to protect yourself from being hurt again. And while rest is holy, hiding is not. God never calls you out to expose you. He calls you out to position you. The vulnerability you fear is the doorway to the connection someone else is praying for. When you speak honestly, when you show up authentically, chains begin to break. Not because of you, but because truth carries power. Your voice doesn't need to be loud to be effective. It needs to be real. There will be moments when you question whether the calling is even real. You'll wonder if you imagined it, if you misunderstood God, if you're aiming too high. But callings don't fade, they wait. They sit quietly until the heart is ready to respond. And the fact that this message still stirs something in you is proof that the call never left. God doesn't revoke what He appoints. He waits patiently until we stop running from it. You are not behind, you are not late. Heaven is not frustrated with your process. Growth takes time, and God is more interested in depth than speed. What looks slow to you is steady to Him. He is building something in you that can last, something that won't collapse under pressure. And when the moment comes for you to step into fuller visibility, you will carry it with humility, not ego, because you remember what it cost to get here. Understand this clearly: your obedience will cost you comfort, but disobedience will cost you peace. You can ignore the call, distract yourself, stay busy, and pretend you don't hear it, but the unrest will remain. Not as punishment, but as reminder. God loves you too much to let you settle for less than what you were created for. The ache you feel is not dissatisfaction with life, it is separation from alignment, and alignment only comes through surrender. Someone is waiting on the other side of your yes. They don't need you to have all the answers. They need your honesty, your compassion, your presence. They need proof that God still restores, still speaks, still heals. And you are living evidence of that, even on days you feel empty. God fills what he sends. Provision always follows obedience. Strength always meets the step. So when fear tells you to wait, listen for the whisper that says move. When doubt says you're not ready, remember that readiness is built in motion. You were never meant to walk this path alone. Heaven walks with you, guiding each step, steadying each moment. And as you continue forward, even trembling, you will begin to see how everything, every delay, every detour, every tear was leading you here. There comes a moment when hesitation becomes heavier than action. You've reached that point now. The questions, the overthinking, the waiting for everything to feel perfect, it has all served its time. What God is asking of you in this season is not perfection, but movement. Faith was never meant to be passive. It breathes when you step forward, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. You don't need a dramatic sign in the sky. The quiet conviction in your heart is already enough. Obedience often begins in simplicity, in choices that seem small but carry eternal weight. You may still feel afraid, and that's okay. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move despite it. Every person God has ever used significantly felt fear at the moment of calling. What separated them was not confidence, but trust. Trust that God would meet them in motion. Trust that the one who called them would sustain them. You are not being sent alone. What God assigns, he accompanies. What he initiates, he completes. The same hand that guided you through your darkest nights will not release you in the light. As you step forward, some things will begin to fall away. Relationships that cannot grow with you may drift. Old versions of yourself will no longer fit. This is not loss, it is alignment. Pruning always feels painful, but it creates space for fruit. You are not being stripped, you are being refined. God is removing what would limit you so you can carry more of what matters. Letting go is not betrayal of the past, it is obedience to the future. There will be days when progress feels invisible, days when obedience doesn't seem to produce immediate results. Do not mistake silence for stagnation. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface. Heaven works in layers you cannot see. Every act of faith, every moment of surrender, every time you choose purpose over comfort is building something that will emerge in its time. Trust the process even when you can't trace the progress. You are stepping into a season where your life becomes a signpost for others. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Your transparency will open doors your talent never could. People are wary of polished answers. They are searching for lived truth, and your journey carries that truth. When you speak, when you serve, when you simply show up, you create permission for others to believe again. Your obedience creates ripple effects far beyond what you can measure. Remember this, God is not asking you to change the world. He is asking you to be faithful in the space he has given you. Impact begins where you are, with what you have right now. One conversation, one act of kindness, one step of obedience. Heaven multiplies what is offered in faith. Never underestimate the power of a single yes surrendered to God. There will be opposition, but there will also be confirmation. At the right moments, God will remind you that you are on the right path, through peace that doesn't make sense, through doors opening without force, through people who confirm what you've been praying in secret. Let these moments anchor you when the road feels long. They are reminders that you are seen, supported, and guided. Most importantly, do not return to hiding. You have outgrown the shadows. The world does not need you diminished. It needs you obedient. It needs you available. It needs you willing to be used even when you feel small. God's power is made perfect in surrender, not in strength. When you say yes, heaven responds. So rise with humility, not pressure. Move with faith, not fear. Speak with love, not performance. You are not stepping into chaos, you are stepping into calling. The season of preparation has fulfilled its purpose. Now comes participation. Walk forward knowing that God goes before you, stands beside you, and strengthens you from within. Someone's breakthrough is tied to your obedience. And as you answer the call, you will discover that the very thing you were afraid to do is the place where you finally come alive.